today is the day. We have opened up enrollment for the Summer Renegade Accelerator program. This opportunity is for female leaders, executives, founders who are looking to 10x the way they think and execute. The program is equal parts education, collaboration, and accountability. It's all virtual, but it's live, interactive, real-time learning. And the curriculum includes everything from building your personal brand online to public speaking, podcasting, publishing, productizing your intellectual property, and even marketing partnerships. We also focus on wealth creation. My goal is to help you create a healthier relationship with both time and money. Head to renegadeaccelerator.com and you will find a video of Renegade grads who explain their experience, share what they've learned, and share their actual results. All of the information is on renegadeaccelerator.com. And we are in the early decision deadline timeframe. So tuition is discounted for a short period of time. We do have limited seats, and there has been a wait list. So head to renegadeaccelerator.com and fill out the application if you're interested. And if you're not sure, just sign up for our emails. We will take you through a process that helps you determine whether or not the program is the right fit for you. The constant feedback I'm hearing from Renegade grads is that they join the program for the curriculum, for the education, for the mindset shift, for the tangible, tactical results. However, they don't realize what they're also getting is a lifelong community that is a mosaic of like-minded, like-hearted women who just continue to accelerate each other way beyond the program. And that is because when you graduate from the Renegade Accelerator, you're invited into the Renegade Collective. This is our alumni network, and we have ongoing programming. We have the ability to connect on a daily basis, network, help each other, and it's pure magic. So if this sounds interesting to you, head to renegadeaccelerator.com. And you can always reach out to me as well if you have questions. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it. We do have limited seats, so definitely act soon if you want to take advantage of the early decision deadline. Head to renegadeaccelerator.com.
I've always been of the opinion that the more awesome women I have around me, the faster we all rise. We have to constantly be boosting each other and lifting each other. And the more you help other women get to their destination, the faster you'll get to yours.
I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step.
Just let go.
If women leave the workforce for just 2 years, there's less than a 50% chance they'll ever get a full-time position again for the rest of their life. So it's one of the most financially risky things a woman can do. Today we have Samantha Ettus on the show, and she is focused on shifting this, on shifting the possibilities and the options that women have. Sam is an author. She is a female entrepreneur, founder of Park Place Payments, which is a company that is disrupting the payment processing industry, which is historically known as the boys' club. And Sam is providing a new kind of sales force. This is total disruption because what's happening is, for the first time, women are able to have flexibility and work from anywhere, an opportunity that's commission-based so they can be their own entrepreneur, their own boss, but also earn recurring revenue the entire time. And this company is growing extremely fast. So basically, a very unsexy industry is being transformed into an opportunity to create financially independent people who are helping small businesses in their own communities. In this wide-ranging conversation with Sam, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about raising capital, what Sam looks for in investors, and how she's very intentional about saving half of the cap table to be women and people of color. We talk about the fact that she raised money on Clubhouse. She found her last investor on Clubhouse. We talk about intentional parenting, boundaries, delegating, entrepreneurship, and something called the magic hour, which I was not aware of, but I've recently adopted this and taken this into practice, which has been incredible. Without further ado, here is Sam. Sam, welcome to the Why Not Now show. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been looking forward to this. And in the spirit of Why Not Now, can you tell me about a time when you had a big decision to make and you had to ask yourself, why not now?
I love this question so much. I think that I have a lot of those moments, especially as an entrepreneur. They're kind of constant, but the one that is probably most seismic in my life is when I started my current company. So I had been on book tour for my last book, which was The Pie Life. And it was all about how to thrive professionally and personally. And on the book tour, I had the pleasure of going around the country and meeting awesome women in different corporations and conferences. But the one group of people I was not able to help were the women who left the workforce, wanted to get back in, and found no opportunities. And most of us don't know, like when we look at a pregnant woman and we say, oh my gosh, are you going to stay home? Or are you going to, go back to work? And we never do that to men who say that their wife is having a baby. And when we do that, we introduce all of these doubts and guilt and what should I be doing? But it's actually a really unrealistic question to ask women, because if you leave the workforce for just 2 years, there's less than a 50% chance you'll ever get a full-time position again for the rest of your life. So it's one of the most financially risky things you can do. So back to the book tour. I'm on the book tour. I meet so many awesome women, and so many were very well educated, had incredible work experience, and just couldn't find work that was going to generate any revenue. Okay, so a lot of them had started selling makeup and skincare and essential oils to their friends, and they weren't even making martini money, but they just wanted to be doing something outside of their families. So now I'm going to take it back to 10 years earlier. I'd been at a conference that was kind of like a boondoggle conference for the top, I speak a lot, as you know, and this was a conference for the top payment processing companies in the country. I didn't know anything about payment processing at the time. It turns out that every business, whether you're a hair salon or a dry cleaner or pediatrician, any business that accepts credit cards has this middleman between American Express, MasterCard, Visa, and the actual business. And today the middleman is 30,000 white men. And they're a lot like used car salesmen. So on this trip, all of these guys had shown up on private planes. And I said to them, where are the women? Where are the people of color? And they kind of laughed at me, and they're like, there are none in this industry. There are none. And at that moment, years ago, I thought, okay, one day I'm going to come back and crush these guys, because there is no reason I can't. They weren't that impressive. They weren't that smart. I was like, what are these people doing? They're just minting money in this industry that there are no women and no people of color. So when I met all of these people that were looking for an opportunity, it suddenly clicked, like, okay, I don't need to wait until I'm 60 or 70 to start this. I should start it now. And I can get these women and train them to sell credit card processing. So in 2018, I tested the model. I went to 6 different cities and trained women with zero background in credit card processing to see if they could actually sell financial services. And they were really successful at it. And based on that, I started my company, and Park Place Payments was born.
Amazing. Amazing. And was there a literal moment where you greenlit the idea? Like, it sounds like you tested it, but before that,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I move fast. I make decisions fast. And I'm always a believer in that. That's really helped me as an entrepreneur. I don't spend a lot of time deliberating. I feel like it's better to make a mistake and keep going and fix it than, to spend extra time on a decision when you kind of know what the right answer is. And so for me, I came back from my book tour super motivated. I'd always felt a little bit frustrated that I could, motivate a room full of women, but I couldn't really offer them an opportunity. And this was the first time that I felt like I had a tangible answer to what should I be doing. With Park Place, it's flexible. It's a work from anywhere opportunity. It's commission only, so they can kind of be their own entrepreneur and be their own boss, but earn recurring revenue the whole time. And so it's been really exciting for me is watching all these people with different backgrounds, different stories all across the country, either seize this opportunity and do it full time or do it part-time as a side hustle. And we've been able to we have an Olympic gold medalist, and we have a couple of doctors, and we have former teachers and, office managers, accountants. We have people with every different background who are now successful selling financial services. So it's been incredibly rewarding. And, when I tested it in these 6 different cities, I think I already knew I'm going to make this work, and we're constantly, I think, iterating how we train and taking things out of the training that might be unnecessary. I remember in the beginning, we spent a half a day on the math of how you calculate rates. And then I was suddenly hold on, why do these people need to calculate rates? I'm going to do all the heavy lifting for them. All they need to do is sell to the businesses they already know. So their dentist and their hair salon and their yoga studio, they don't need to be cold calling. They already know. Every one of us is already interacting with so many small businesses, we don't even realize it. So that's been really exciting.
That's amazing. I can imagine the disruption too, and just the waves that you're making in the industry, having, been to that conference and seen what it looked like in the past. So have you been back to with COVID? I know there's not been a lot of conferences the last year, but have you found yourself in situations where you're interfacing with the industry, and what's the feedback, and how is this all netting out?
That's a great question. And yes, I get so excited when we go to industry conferences because I get so fired up all over again of we're going to crush these guys. And not to stereotype, but there's a lot of gold chains, a lot of buttons down, a few buttons too far down of the shirt. And, I remember a couple of years ago, I was at my first industry conference as, a CEO of a payment processing company. And it was a kind of the session I went to was a support group for owners in this industry. And I listened, and everyone kept complaining about the same thing. They were competing for the same salespeople. They kept offering them more of a cut. They didn't know what to do. They couldn't keep them. They were always fighting over them. There were a fist fight at one of the conferences over these guys. And I was listening, and then I asked a question. I said, well, how do you all train your sales reps? And they said, oh, well, and 90% of them said they don't have any training. And then 10% said we drive around in a car with them. I'm like, oh, good God. So I finally, after listening to these guys complain to each other, would not solve anything for 45 minutes. I raised my hand and I said, okay, I'm new to this industry, but you've just shared with me that you really don't train anyone. And they said, right. And I said, so it must not be a very complicated product to sell. And they said, right. And I said, so if you thought about the fact that there's millions of salespeople in this country, why don't you recruit some people outside the industry? And I'm not joking, Amy, for the next 2 days, people would tap me on the shoulder and be like, you are a genius. And I was like, oh no, I'm not. but it was just so funny. So I just always get invigorated when I'm around the industry. And, I think that what's been really funny is that, when you talk about disruption, right? when we talk about disruption, a lot of this, we run in a lot of the same circles where it's always technology we're disrupting. And even in just fundraising, I've had to explain to people like, there is no technology I'm disrupting. However, I'm disrupting the experience of a business owner accepting payments, because for the first time in an industry that has no service, they're going to get great service. For the first time, they are going to be supporting women. For the first time, they are going to get fair pricing without hidden fees. Like we're disrupting the user experience. So it's been really interesting because like right now we're closing our seed round and there's certain people who are like, but you don't have an engineering team. And I'm like, right, because this is more of a sure thing than all those other technologies you're investing in where you don't know if it's going to work out. Like this is a business that's guaranteed to just continue to grow and grow. And it's very rare to raise money in this industry, but I knew I wanted to build a rocket ship, not a cruise ship. And so to do that, I needed to get investors. And I think it's been the right decision because a team of investors I'm so proud of, and we're just able to grow that much faster. So
that's amazing. And I imagine your model and formula could be applied to probably a lot of other industries and areas too. I mean, you've probably started to identify them, but it is such a unlikely form of disruption, but it is so opportunistic, I imagine. Like, wow, that's amazing. And you guys are doing great, right? I hear about your company a lot, and it's just the buzz around it has got some great energy.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, people will say to me often, this is so unsexy. You used to be on the Today Show all the time, and now you're talking about credit card processing. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm talking about financial independence for populations who haven't had the opportunity to access it. And to me, there's nothing sexier. I mean, I've never been more excited about anything I've done professionally because we have just countless stories of people's lives who are being changed. So it's super exciting to be building a company that I plan on building to $1 billion company while also being able to truly help people with a social mission, right? So the idea is that we're injecting thousands of financially independent people into the world, and we're doing it in a way that's helping small businesses. So it's kind of like a double win in that way. And I love every day of it. It's been really fun, really challenging, and really, really invigorating at the same time.
So that definitely sounds like it brings you positive energy and your company, the purpose. What else gets you out of bed in the morning? What brings you positive energy?
Well, my 3 kids, I have a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And I am really into parenting in the sense that like I read a ton about parenting. I'm always trying to be a better parent. And I kind of am like a student of it. I know it sounds weird, but I just always feel like I can be growing and learning as a parent, and I make mistakes every day, but I try to learn from them. And I guess now that we have these like fully formed people in our home who have all these opinions and about me and about the world, and they're always teaching me every day. And so it's just a really exciting time of life. I mean, since the pandemic, my husband and I have never gone out to dinner alone. We've literally, if we've gone out to dinner, maybe the 3 times we've gone, it's always been with the kids. And when we go on vacation now, we always, we used to get babysitters. Now it's always about the kids because it's like we have these little mini adults in our house who are really fun companions. So it's been a really, really fun, challenging, and fun time for us. And I also have a podcast, which has been awesome, that I host with Amy Nelson, called What's Her Story with Sam and Amy. And we hear different women's stories every week. And so that's also been really fun. I think especially during the pandemic, for those of us who are used to kind of traveling and seeing a lot of other like badass women at conferences and speaking engagements, it's been really strange to not have traveled for a year and a half. And so I think through, things like this, your podcast and my podcast, and it's given me a chance to connect with people I might have only, connected with if I'd been on an airplane. So that's definitely been inspiring for me.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm hopping in here to tell you about a new discovery of mine. I'm in love, and let me tell you, I've fallen hard. We all like our caffeine in the morning. I look forward to that first, second, and fifth cup of coffee in the morning, but now I exclusively drink super coffee. I'm such a fan that I actually invested in the company, the team, and their culture. The love for what I do every day makes me jump out of bed in the morning, but Super Coffee truly fuels that fire. It's fueled with positive energy, from the ingredients they use to their brand promise. Super Coffee removes the negatives like sugar and adds the positives like MCT oil and protein so that you can maximize your day. I have an embarrassing secret. I used to be addicted to diet soda. I'd roll out of bed and pop open a can before my eyes were even fully open. I had never been a huge coffee drinker, but when I gave up diet soda on July 12th, 2015, yes, the moment deserves an anniversary. It was a big deal. I needed another caffeine source at that point. For me, that meant coffee with lots of artificial sweeteners, with crazy ingredients I can't pronounce that made me crash by 2 p.m. or so. Well, not anymore. Super Coffee is different. As I mentioned, there's no added sugar, and some of the flavors I love have 10 grams of plant protein. Now, I'm not a big meat eater, so this really helps, and they've just added a few new flavors to their plant-based offering, like French vanilla and sweet cream. They only use ingredients that are great tasting, great for you, and sustain you for the long haul. Nothing shady, only positives. The taste is delish, I can tell you. Take it from someone who needs that extra flavor to enjoy the taste of coffee. And Super Coffee also comes in ground coffee, Keurig pods, creamers, and more on their website, drinksupercoffee.com. One of the things my team and I love most is that on drinksupercoffee.com, you can shop Super Coffee's wide variety of products based on your dietary needs, including gluten-free, plant-based, Whole30, keto, or even vegan, right there on their website. There's something for everyone. While you're on the site, go ahead and stock up because Super Coffee is hooking up Why Not Now listeners with a 25% discount. Head to supercoffee.com and use the code Why Not Now for your 25% discount on all products. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works again for all products. Just use Why Not Now as your code, all one word. There are no restrictions. I'm an investor in Super Coffee because the founders truly do walk the talk. Yes, their coffee provides positive energy, but so does their company culture. Their founders are 3 brothers who share a work hard and be nice to people mentality, and they spread that throughout their culture at Super Coffee. They know the importance of having diverse perspectives at the leadership level, and you know I'm a fan of elevating women in leadership. In fact, one of my Renegade Accelerator grads, Jamie Christ, is one of those women. So once that positive energy arrives on your doorstep, hit me up on social at Amy Jo Martin and show me what flavors and products you went with. And bonus points if you try one of their seasonal blends. The company is growing quickly, and you'll probably start noticing Super Coffee in your local Walmart, Target, or Costco. They are now in over 30,000 retailers nationwide. To take advantage of your exclusive 25% discount, head to drinksupercoffee.com and enter Why Not Now at checkout. That's Why Not Now, all one word. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works for all products, no restrictions. Absolutely. Part of the joy of podcasting is getting to meet, that's the biggest perk, is getting to meet and hear and learn from other really neat, incredible people. And it's just exciting in itself. So when you think about investing and just investing in yourself, how do you invest in yourself and your growth?
Well, I mean, I don't mean to sound like some sort of Pollyanna-ish person, but I kind of am excited for every day. I think that I'm not someone who deprives myself of enjoying life, right? So it's I wake up, I'm excited for my latte. I'm excited to get my kids off to school and do the morning and have my team call. And I think I carry that excitement throughout my day. It's just kind of part of who I am. And I definitely get my energy from other people. So I've had to adjust in the pandemic in terms of figuring that out and how to do that, whether it's on a Zoom call or connecting because there's not as much in-person connection. And then kind of like once dinner time hits in our house, it's like I definitely am good at boundaries. That's kind of what the genesis of my book was, all about how you set your boundaries. And so I've always been someone that allows myself to kind of be part of all the different areas of life, right? So I'm not someone who's like, I'm just going to put my head down and work my ass off for 3 years and then like put my head up and be like, okay, it's time for friends or time for a relationship. That's not ever how I've been. So I think I've been pretty good about blending that and making time for all of it. And I'll spend a couple hours focused on my family every night. And then I'll go back to, be on Clubhouse or, editing my podcast or, writing something to an investor, whatever it is. I feel like I have a pretty good way of managing it. And then, of course, I like to watch junkie TV like the rest of the world, on most nights.
What's your favorite show?
Oh gosh, I've gone through so many shows during the pandemic. It's really hard to say. I mean, I loved, was it Dead to Me? That show? Was that what it was called?
I didn't see that one.
It was so good with Christina Applegate. It's so much fun.
Oh, yes. Yep. On the flight, and there's the airplane, but she's the flight attendant.
Oh, that's a different one. That's called The Flight Attendant. That was really fun too.
That's totally different.
Yeah. But anyway, I've watched so many shows. I'm like, I can't even think of what I'm watching right now. Like the Tiger King seems like 10 years ago, right? It was like in the beginning of the pandemic, we all watched Tiger King when we thought the pandemic was lasting for 6 weeks. And then now we're like, oh my God, we're still in it. So anyway, I'm always looking for new stuff. So if anyone wants to email me some suggestions, I'm open. And so I don't know. So I guess I've always been someone who finds, the fun in every day or I've kind of brought that to my work too. Like I've never hidden my work from my kids. I'm always talking to them about what's going on at work so they feel like they're part of it and they don't resent it. And that's definitely something I think as a working parent really helps. Instead of, apologizing to your kid for going to work, you say, guess what I get to do today? And I can't wait to hear about your day at the end of the day too. And then your kids see it as something that is aspirational as opposed to something that is taking away from them.
That's so cool. I love that. And you mentioned the parenting books, sounds like you just are a student of parenting, which I love that term and concept. Okay. I don't know if I know your kids are a little older than my 2-year-old, but top parenting book you've ever read.
So one of my favorite parenting experts is my friend Harvey Karp. He wrote The Happiest Baby on the Block and The Happiest Toddler on the Block. And The Happiest Baby on the Block for new parents is definitely a must read. Like the 5 S's are essential for, making sure that your baby is calm and not crying and keeping them happy and soothed. But Happiest Toddler on the Block has a video that you can get on Amazon. It's like pretty poor quality, but it's amazing. And it literally is transformational. And I feel like I always recommend it to every parent. It's so good. Like buy it today on Amazon. It's like life-changing. It's so good. Okay. And ironically, like I would call the method of parenting that we use is intentional parenting. I don't believe in like, oh my God, my kid's having a tantrum, let them like cry it out. Like that's kind of the opposite of how we parent. And I really believe that like crying begets crying. And so instead you want to acknowledge your child's feelings. Like even if it seems silly to you that they want the red sippy cup and that it's in the wash or whatever it is, that to them in their small world that they're in right now, that's actually a really big thing. And so acknowledging and validating doesn't mean you're giving in. It just means you're saying your feelings are important. So that's kind of always been our parenting style. And kind of like just respecting our children as real people and giving them space to be who they are. And I think that a lot of parenting is all about like one size fits all. And as a manager and a leader, you know how different every person on your team is, and the way you manage certain people can't be the way you manage others. And it's the same thing with parenting. I think that, treating every child as an individual with their own needs and their own personalities is really important.
That's so cool. I love that. I'm definitely going to get that. I'm like looking forward to watching this video. Thank you for the heads up. So back to entrepreneurship here for a moment. As an investor, a lot of people will say, what are you looking for the most in a company, a brand, a founder, whatever. But to flip that as well, what do you look for in investors? So, and I loved your story from earlier because thank goodness that didn't work out, right? And it worked out the way it did. I think, we focus so much on the inverse of that question. And now that you're raising this next round, you have experience. And so, what do you look for in investors?
Okay. I first of all applaud you so much. You're the first person who's ever asked me this question. And I actually was thinking of writing an article about this because I think we talk so much about investors and how they need to have a diverse portfolio. And that talk clearly is not really making anything change, right? But what if I always want to say, like, as an entrepreneur, you have to be intentional about who your investors are. And I shared with you a story earlier about how, I wasn't intentional the first time as much as I could have been, and kind of accepted money from a person who maybe wasn't like the biggest, women's equality person, and it backfired. And I replaced him with 3 women. And I, from the beginning but even before that incident, before my angel round, I was very intentional about saying half of this cap table will be women and people of color. And you can raise money a lot faster if you are comfortable raising all of your money from white men, because at the end of the day, women are still not investing enough, right? We are putting money under the mattress and we're saving money. And that's all the women's magazines are about, saving, and all the men's magazines are about investing. And I'm so passionate about getting more women into investing. In fact, like after this company, that will be, I think, my life's work, is getting every woman. If you are a female doctor, you should be investing some of your money in women entrepreneurs. You don't just have to be in finance to invest. And I think that we don't think that way right now. And so anyway, so I've been very intentional about who my investors are. And this round, our seed round, I'm super proud of the combination of, we have just so many powerhouse women in the round, just so many awesome people. And like, they're people that like, I'm excited to one day get everyone together in the same room. I'm like super proud of our investors. Like, I brag about our investors. I'm really proud of them. And I think that you want to feel that way about your investors. And I get really excited when I talk about our investors. And for a long time, a lot of people with both the angel round and the seed round encourage me not to raise money, because this is an industry that you don't necessarily need to raise money in. But I was an athlete as a child. I love a team, and I know I'm better with a strong team behind me. So I would rather grow faster and do it with a team behind me and give up some of the equity to do that. I mean, the reason it's such a great question is because I hope that entrepreneurs listening really think hard about who they want to be on their cap table, because it really matters. And it's also a different way of coming at the diversity issue. If you care about diversity, you should care about diversity in your investor team too.
100%. And it's so true. There's, Lisa Stone, who we both know, was recently on the show, and she did talk about the research that she's done around just diversity and the ROI of having a diverse, portfolio, not just portfolio, but having diversity within your cap table, and just from a performance perspective as well, which is great that research is starting to surface more and more. And it's definitely exciting to have that conversation at least being had more, because like you said, there's a lot of room for growth. 100%.
Although, it's funny. I actually closed my seed round on Clubhouse. Okay. So I raised the last part of my round on Clubhouse from people I met on Clubhouse, which is crazy. And
do it like the people you met, or during in a room?
During an actual room. I've always been one to be like, I'll raise my hand. And it was in the early days of Clubhouse. They don't do it anymore because I think they got in trouble, but there was kind of a Shark Tank room.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who was running it was kind of like tough as nails. And he was like, just so you know, you're going to get pushed back to the audience if this sucks, and you'll never come back to my stage again. And I was like, sure, got it. No problem. Like, and so anyway, I pitched, and it was like the only deal they did that night. And I got so many people contacting me after the pitch who were like, oh my God, you crushed it, you know, whatever. And like, they weren't even part of the stage, but they also wanted to be in the round. So it's really interesting. Anyway, so I'm all about like taking risks like that. And it actually made my portfolio more diverse, because these people are people I probably wouldn't have known before, and they're super cool. And I'm excited they're in the round, and they're geographically dispersed, and they're great. But I think that I can't remember where I was going with this, how I started the Clubhouse story, but I do believe that the way we are talking about I know what it is. I did meet another person at Clubhouse who early on, and he kept saying, you would be the first ever woman I invested in. And I was like, would you ever say that to another population of people? Like, it's like, this is super weird. Like, I don't, but he said it so many times. In the beginning, I thought like, okay, let's just, see what's happening here. And he wanted so much from me. He wanted to meet my whole team. He had 2 investor references, like really a ton of due diligence. And what I realized is like, I could never get him comfortable with me. And it wasn't because of anything tangible. It was like, but I've never invested in a woman before. And it's like, I'm not an alien. I'm a human being with a company that's going to rock it. And like, I don't. And finally, before he could say no, I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't think this is going to work out. Thank God I said that. But it's hard when you're on the other end to make those decisions. You feel like you're the one who's so vulnerable. And at the same time, if you're dating, you're not just going to date anyone. If you're, we're picky about every area of our life. So we should also be selective about who's on our cap table. And it's a lesson I've had to learn over and over, because when you are out there raising money, you have your eye on the prize, and it's easy to get caught up in that.
It's so true. And I think it makes it a little more difficult because there's already such a small pool that's being allocated. And then I can imagine, you need to be picky. But at the same time, I think that's definitely shifting, and there's just room for education. For one of the modules in the Renegade Accelerator is wealth creation, because were we ever really taught, whether it's real estate investing or investing early seed stage into companies or in the market, whatever it is, it seems foreign. And there's with competence and education, we can then increase our confidence. So, and community too.
Right? It's so true. And I do think, like, I've always been of the opinion that, like, the more awesome women I have around me, the faster we all, rise. And I've always fully believed that. And I think that, just like you were saying, like, there's not enough wealth creation talk among women, especially. There's not enough talk of like how we have to constantly be boosting each other and lifting each other. And that the more you help other women get to their destination, the faster you'll get to yours.
Absolutely. Oh, and it is exciting to see it, and seeing is believing, because it's happening left and right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's great that you're talking about wealth creation, because, I always say, like, on your next girls' night out, like, don't just talk about your relationship, talk about your relationship to money.
Exactly.
Everyone
relationship with money.
Yeah.
And getting curious about the money stories in our heads. Like, you don't have to judge yourself, but just start getting curious and investigate and research. Why do I believe that? Why do I think that? Why do I feel that way toward money? And then, well, it's interesting. And time, like, that's one of my big hobbies, is really developing a healthier relationship with both time and money, because that just seems to create a more enjoyable life in general. So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's such a good point, because I do think that, especially as women, we don't value our time enough. and recognize that like part of delegating is that hour, what is that hour worth to you in terms of what could you be earning in that hour that you think you need to be the one going to the supermarket or you need to be the one doing the laundry, right? Like, is that something you could outsource and maybe make more value out of that hour? Because it's not time you're with your kids. It's not time you're with your spouse. It's time that, it's kind of invisible time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And when we start thinking that way, even assigning like a dollar amount to each hour, even if you do some quick, simple math and kind of reverse engineer, what we say yes to starts to get, I think, we definitely get a little more particular, right? And especially when we think about like all the people who reach out, hey, I just want to take you to coffee. Maybe not in the last year, but like, can we just go get coffee? I want to pick your brain.
One of my pet peeves, AKA I want free advice.
Exactly. Well, it's so funny, especially on Clubhouse. It's all about free advice. So, we'll be on stage giving free advice and then someone will DM me saying, I'd really like to pick your brain. I'm like, no, you just did.
That was for.
That's what that was. Yeah. It's really funny too. What you say about time and money, I see it every day. So we now have 650 account executives across the country and we'll double that by the end of this year. But what's really interesting in watching who is most successful among the account executives, it's those that value their time, right? Because if they are doing everything at home, even if you have a flexible job like this one, or, a flexible position that you've chosen and you're a 1099, like you still have to allocate time to it to be successful. But if you're the one who thinks that you need to be doing everything and no one else is good enough to pack the lunchbox or do the laundry or, make the appointments or whatever it is, you have to divide and conquer. You and I don't know any really successful women who do everything at home. It's just not possible. So to reach your personal potential, whatever your goals are, whether they're small goals, big goals, whatever they are, you have to be willing to let some of that go in place of the thing that's going to contribute to your future earnings. And I think that we don't talk enough about that for sure.
Oh, yes. I love that conversation so much. I just went through this exercise where the mentor of mine suggested I list all the tasks that I'm doing, right? Not to-do list, but like the ongoing, everything I could think of. And then categorize them 1 through 4. And 1 is your super ability. This is like your zone of genius. You enjoy it. Like only you are uniquely qualified to do these items. And then 2 is your zone of excellence. You're good at it. Doesn't light you up, but you're good at it. So you usually just do it. And then 3 is like, competence is, it's not enjoyable. And 4 is like, you should not be doing this thing, right? It's probably not going to get finished and you're probably not going to do it well at all. And it's fascinating to open your eyes and see, okay, how much of my time is being spent in 2, 3, and 4? And then you start just, what can I delegate? And it's like this freeing experience. Because it's always evolving, right? Some of our current 2s used to be 1s and we're just not into it. It doesn't light us up. So what's your top time management tip or trick?
I have a couple of them. One is have the magic hour. So if you have little kids or pets in your house, wake up an hour earlier than the earliest riser. Because as soon as you let your child, your pet be your alarm clock, you're kind of feel behind the rest of the day. So that's one thing. Another thing that I like to talk about is living your life by train schedule, even if you're not a commuter. So what happens, especially for those of us who are entrepreneurs, it's really easy to watch your time disappear because technically you could do the field trip. You could be a volunteer. Technically, you could be the one to buy your mom's present instead of your sister who has a corporate job. Like there's always something that you could say yes to. And so it's death by 1,000 cuts. So it's really important to act as though you have that corporate job or you are that commuter so that you don't watch your time disappear. And then I'm a huge fan of making your to-do list the night before so that you hit the ground running the next day. So you get to your desk and you're like, oh, this is what I need to be doing. And you just go right in.
I love it. Those are 3 very tangible, thank you, tactical tips and all so good. I'm a big believer in just really understanding too, like when do you work best? For me, I'm a morning. I can do anything in the morning, right? You get about 2 or 3 and don't give me any big tasks type thing and just being self-aware, right? Of like, when is your
Go.
Well, it's so true. And now that I have teenagers, it's really tricky because they want to like unload on me at like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I am literally after 9:30, I'm exhausted. I'm off duty. I cannot be the mom you want me to be. And I'm like in my bed reading a book or like hiding from like whatever it is that they want me to do with them. Can you study for this test right now? I'm like, I could have before 9 o'clock.
4 hours ago.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So, okay.
If you were to go back to 2018, when you had remembered your experience you had had in this antiquated industry that you bookmarked, then resurfaced, and if you were to go back and you were to tell yourself something in that moment, what would you say?
I think I was originally very intimidated by the technology in the industry. And I've gotten a lot more comfortable over time being like, I'm not a fintech expert. What my superpower is in gathering an awesome group of people behind me to sell this thing and earn recurring revenue and to recruit them. And on top of it, hiring around me to fill in all my weaknesses, right? You don't need as an entrepreneur to know how to do everything. You just need to be very self-aware about what you're great at and what you're not great at. Mm-hmm. And you hire around you to fill those gaps. Mm-hmm. And so I now have this A-list all-star team to fill in all those gaps. And I'm not pretending I'm a fintech expert. I have payments experts on my team. And that is not my thing. Like I know how to build a company and to recruit, but I am not someone who's ever going to be an expert in the technology, and I don't need to be. Mm-hmm. And I think early on, I thought I might need to be. And so I think when you're an entrepreneur, whatever you are an entrepreneur in, it's much more important to know how to build a business, recruit the right people, and grow a business than it is to know every single, iota, every single thing about that particular technology. By the way, the technology is always changing. So you're always going to be a step behind in technology, even if you are an expert, but you'll never lose that core expertise of understanding how to motivate people and how to build something and grow something and stay true to your vision.
Such great advice. It's so good. And what a time-saving piece of advice and energy. We don't want to train up our weaknesses because then we're just going to be mediocre at things that we don't enjoy and we aren't good. So that's a great piece of advice, especially for entrepreneurs. So thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This has been awesome, and I am so excited for you, for your company. You're just making some big dents in some big doing really important work. So thank you. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time, and until then, why not now?